Welcome, I'm Katie Kalkinen. I'm Dean of the Norman J. Radow College of Humanities and Social Sciences. And I am so excited to be kicking off our third annual Norman J. Radow College of Humanities and Social Sciences 365 Days of Learning and Service. I am so glad that everyone is able to join us today for this important theme, mental health. And I know that I'm so excited about the large crowd here today, but also the students online, including my class, in which I have to run back to and teach this afternoon. So mental health is such an important issue, not only for students, but obviously widely in our society. KSU and the Radow College is doing a number of things to help our students and to address issues around mental health and suicidality. This is a topic that reaches, like I said, across the university, from students to our faculty and also our staff, as well as our family members and friends. As we cite on our 365 website, mindfulness practices, healthy eating and hydration, which I don't often get to, and positive relationships are just some of the many ways in which we can help to have a positive impact on our mental health. While there are numerous studies that confirm that mental health is a significant concern for college students, a recent study of over 90,000 students nationwide note that about 44% of all students experience some form of depression, 37% experience anxiety, and 15% report that they have considered suicide at some point. These statistics are shocking, and this expansive research demands that we do something to support our students at Kennesaw State. For me, it is also incredibly important to recognize the overlap in student experiences with mental health, and also the other experiences, in particular dating violence, sexual violence, and other types of interpersonal violence that we know our college students are more apt to experience and that are likely to coincide with mental health. Throughout the year, we're going to have amazing programming, thanks to Michael Chen and also the committee on the 365 to explore this important topic. Kennesaw State has tremendous resources to help students and our faculty, and this includes KSU's counseling and psychological services that offer a wide range of resources, including workshops, programs, and programming to help our students, and also ensure they are receiving referrals to the best practice. Today we'll hear from London Hawkins, Associate Director of Embedded Counseling Services, about KSU's commitment to supporting our students and the resources we have. In addition to Dr. Hawkins, we have a panel of faculty, our community partners, and a student that will share their work in this area. Dr. Joel Crombez, Associate Professor of Sociology and the author of Anxiety in Modern Society and Critical Method, will share his work that explores mental health through the lens of political economy and technology, including considerations of AI and mental health. Dr. Aaron Levy is the director of our Masters of Arts in Professional Writing, and he's also a professor of English and a professor of English Ed. And he will discuss his tremendous play, The Student Body, which was recently staged here in Atlanta by Destination Theater, that explores the connection between mental health and youth. Parker McCraig, a KSU student working with the nonprofit Silence the Shame, will share his experience volunteering and committing his time to an organization that is focused on eliminating the negative stigma associated with mental health. Nia Bullock, the director of Silence the Shame, will also share about the phenomenal work this organization is doing to provide essential educational initiatives in the Atlanta area, as well as supporting vulnerable populations that are disproportionately impacted by mental health concerns. Finally, Chelsea Piat, the Georgia Chapter of Association Area Director, is here and will discuss the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The reach of this organization in our state and across the country is great, as they state on their website, saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide is so important. Incidentally, she obtained her BS in communication from our college, and so having her here is incredibly meaningful to connect alumni to these important topics. Each of our guests will speak for a few minutes and I believe will prompt rich discussion around the topic this year. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank the committee that pulled this together, and in particular, Michael Chen, who has taken over this incredible initiative of the 365. We have a great set of speakers, classes this semester, and we'll continue to add programming throughout the year. There's also an upcoming Walk for Mental Health in October, and our Uncranny Creations will continue with that food drive we do every November for our KSU pantry, because we know that students who are experiencing housing insecurity, food insecurity, are also at risk for mental health concerns. On behalf of the Norman J. Radau College of Humanities and Social Sciences, I thank you for your participation and your support of this ongoing program. I am so excited by this topic and also excited to learn in the next days or weeks what next year's topic will be. After the panel, we will have a reception over in the conference room across the hall. Please join us for food and fellowship and discussion. And next, I will turn it over to our partners.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. London Hawkins, and I'm the Associate Director of Embedded Counseling Services here at Kennesaw State University. It's a privilege to stand before you today and address a topic that I think impacts all of us, mental health. Often we think of health in terms of physical well-being, but mental health is just as essential to our overall wellness. It's the foundation upon which we build our emotional strength, our relationships, and our ability to cope with challenges that life presents. Many of our students are also coping with life challenges. And so in part of our work, we're helping them to succeed as students and also members of our campus community. My position is housed in Counseling and Psychological Services, which is in Kennesaw Hall on our campus, across the campus green, which is a little bit out of the ways. So I'll talk a little bit about some of our services that are looking to integrate into different departments here on campus so that we can increase access and visibility to our services. So the majority of what I do on a day-to-day basis is working directly with our students in a counseling capacity, but also developing our embedded counseling services program. Our mental health services play a crucial role in maintaining and improving the physical, psychological, and physical well-being of our students, and ultimately our campus community. And as awareness grows, so does the understanding that mental health is not something to be stigmatized or ignored. And seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but rather an act of courage. Yes. So Counseling and Psychological Services, also known as CPS, we provide individual, couples, or relationship, and also group and career counseling services. Counseling and also therapy services. We also provide psychological evaluation and assessment services, and we also provide on-call emergency counseling services. So any students or crises on campus that come through after hours, we're getting that call. So while we provide many of our services in our center, what we are noticing is that students are facing many barriers to receiving care and the services that we provide. They're experiencing difficulty in getting connected to us. Some of them don't even know where we are on campus, right? And so KSU is also unique in our student body in that many of our students, they're not only hardworking, but they're working one, maybe two jobs to underwrite their tuition. They don't have families that are taking care of their tuition. They're working hard to be able to access this on their own. We also have many first-generation students, so students who are first-generation to KSU and colleges and universities, but also first-generation to the United States. So helping our students navigate some of the resources that are available to them on campus, including counseling and psychological services, is the epitome of what we do on a day-to-day basis. So to address this need, we've developed our embedded counseling program to promote mental wellness, early intervention, and increase access and visibility to mental health support services available on campus. In addition to providing counseling services in our counseling centers on both campuses, on the Kennesaw campus and Marietta campus, we've expanded our reach to provide direct mental health services in the Center for Young Adult Addiction and Recovery, peer counseling in the Wellnest, which is in the Student Center, and also our student health services clinics on both campuses. From our work with students, we find that mental health is not just the absence of mental illness, but the presence of positive emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, how we act, and how are our students showing up on a day-to-day basis. Without good mental health, our ability to function effectively, to work and to study, and to form meaningful relationships and to enjoy life is compromised. So 2 of the most critical aspects of our work is to focus on the prevention and early intervention of our services and also the reduction of stigma. Unfortunately, many students still feel ashamed and embarrassed to seek help. They don't know where to go. They're also struggling with mental health challenges, so to step over that barrier to even seek help is difficult. So our services are vital in breaking down that stigma by providing people with the safe space to talk openly, freely, and in a safe and supportive environment. So in closing, let us continue to advocate for stronger mental health services and work towards a future where no one feels alone in their struggles. We want students to know that our counseling center is here and available for them, that we have services that are here to help support them in their journey as students. Let us remember that mental health care is not a luxury, but a necessity, and it's very necessary for us to have a functioning and healthy campus community. Our staff is passionate about empowering our students to develop coping skills, enhance emotional well-being, and achieve personal growth. If any student you encounter is interested in getting connected to us, please feel free to send them our way. I'll be around after this to answer any questions that you have. But we just want you to know that we are available for services. Let your students know that we are here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here and to see so many faces here in person. Big welcome as well to all of our folks online. My name is Dr. Joel Crombie. I'm an associate professor in the sociology department. My research examines mental health really from the perspective of looking at many of the social forces that are contributing to the way that we think and experience the world, particularly looking at the political, economic, and technological developments and how those are impacting the way that people experience their reality and interpret things internally. But I want to start off by just listing a couple of the facts that have recently come out on mental health, especially in relation to our state of Georgia. One thing that's been kind of difficult is in getting good quality data on mental health from across the nation. COVID really interrupted that in terms of some of the longitudinal data. It was difficult to get that in person. So there were some interruptions there, but there are a couple of organizations, particularly the nonprofit State of Mental Health America, that has collected a lot of this across 50 states, and they put out a report every year. One of the things that stood out is a couple of years ago when I first started reading the report, Georgia was ranked last out of 51, that is all 50 states, including District of Columbia, in terms of access to care. We've moved up in 5 years to 47th. So we've made, well, I don't think we've actually made improvements. Some of the other states have gotten a little bit worse. So, you know, we're dealing with some issues here. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that in this data, it actually shows that Georgia is third in terms of mental health problems. That is, we have very few mental health problems overall. There's a contradiction there going on. And one of the ways that they've explained this contradiction is that when you are ranked near the very bottom in terms of access to care, a lot of people don't actually go and get that care, and it's hard to count them amongst those numbers of people who are suffering from mental health problems. So it looks good on one hand, but it's kind of a false narrative that's emerging. And so we have a lot of students who are coming here to Kennesaw who, even if they are willing to acknowledge and address the fact that they have mental health issues, struggle or have struggled to even find or access care within the state. Even in our area, in the Metro Atlanta area, where we do have more mental health practitioners than in several of the rural areas in Georgia, many of them are not taking new patients, or if they are, it's months out. And as I'm sure many of you know, when someone's having a mental health crisis, waiting for 4 months to go and see someone is usually not a good option. Now, when we look at some of the other statistics in terms of what's going on, the youth in our country are dealing with a particularly powerful mental health crisis right now. 13% of youth reported experiencing serious thoughts of suicide, and 2022 had the highest rate of deaths by suicide that had been recorded in U.S. history. The numbers for 2023 have not come out yet in their report, but these were impacted by a variety of things, including the isolation that many felt as a result of COVID. Over half of youth that were surveyed across the country did not ever go and even try to get help for their mental health problems. And I think what is the point that really sticks for me in this is that a third of those who did get help said that it did not help at all, and they didn't experience anything better as a result of it. We also have about 10% of Americans who do not have health insurance that covers mental health still, and many people are still experiencing this crisis. This is what shows up time and again in a lot of this data, is that people who do have mental health are still not going and getting that help because they cannot afford their deductibles. So there's still a cost barrier associated with it. And that's one of the places where my research comes in, and what I've been looking at is that when we usually look at mental health, and particularly from a psychiatric and psychological perspective, the overwhelming narrative and theory is still based on the biomedical model. It sees this as a completely internal thing to the patient, and it wants to separate out those problems of everyday life from what are actually deemed as mental illnesses. However, what we see happen is that more and more people, when they are getting help, they're going to their general practitioner, who maybe has some training in mental health, but that's not primarily what they're focused on. Instead, what they do is they give them that little questionnaire, you fill it out yourself, you add up your own score, and if your score is over a certain number, your doctor's gonna write you a prescription. And a lot of times what that happens is that they're never actually talking about the problems. Many of the problems are those everyday problems in life. So what have we seen that youth have been going and getting mental health care for? Well, we've seen a rise in the number of global youth who have been experiencing mental health problems as a result of climate change and the fears that they come with an uninhabitable planet. They have economic fears and anxieties as they're seeing certain things like the American dream, which we very much like to sort of idolize in this country, slipping away. Home ownership is now not something that young people even aspire to because it's just out of reach. And it's not just young people, really it's anyone 41 or younger in this country who it's really gotten out of reach for. Then we also saw a spike during the Trump administration of people going and getting mental health help because of political reasons. And so now even politics are starting to seriously impact the mental health of youth in our country. When we start to look at this nexus of problems, and then we add on top of it the fact that education remains an incredibly large expense that is often being shouldered by students, and they're constantly hearing about how things like automation and AI will take their jobs. And then we look at the things that AI is actually starting to do, it's taking away those aspects of work that actually create a lot of joy for people. The creative aspects, those parts where they're able to use their mind and experience something new that they invest themselves in, that they get an emotional feedback from, it's decreasing a lot of jobs to the very machinic kind of existence, which is, in a word, depressing. So this is the kind of scenario that we're facing. My work particularly, and this is what I'll conclude on, it tries to examine a new way of looking at mental health, and particularly trying to construct new modes of therapy that incorporate this sociological and social dimension into it. If we continue to have a platform that is primarily about simply giving an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication, and I just want to say those are very helpful in a lot of cases, and some people need them. But if we're doing that so that people can simply function and go to work for the next 30, 40, 50 years, and that's supposed to be their life, and that the medication is required just to be okay to do that tedious day-to-day existence, then we're failing, not only as a society, as a nation, but as a species. We've forgotten what it means to be human. And we have to sort of reincorporate that back into our mental health practices. So while awareness is great, the one thing I'll say is that awareness is not nearly enough. Knowing about this is not what's important. It's doing something about it. And it requires making serious changes, not only to the way that we function on a day-to-day basis, but the way our society is organized, the way that we consider life, this large-scale picture, not just thinking about quarterly profits or whatever is the main issue of the day. What are these big things that are going to shape the future for all of our students, for our children? Those are the sorts of questions and the actions that we have to start taking. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon. My name is Aaron Levy, and I am the director of the Master's of Arts in Professional Writing program. Sorry if my voice is deeper. I'm not sick. It's allergies. I think I'm allergic to curriculog. Or it's a nod to the James Earl Jones passing. I don't know. So a long time ago, I tried to write a play about body image. It wasn't that long ago. I still had the same haircut, but and it wasn't working. I put it down, and then I was working with schools, doing teacher training for the Dramatic Writing Initiative, starting in 2018, 2019, and then COVID. And it occurred to me just from working with teachers and a lot of the, like you mentioned, the politics that were going on with school shootings, violence, and the mental health, the rise in mental health issues, not only with our young adults, but with our teachers, and also with COVID, adults trying to put in unprecedented policies. And so all of that combination made me go back to this play and pick it up. And I started to do a ton of research with folks like Scott Galloway, Jonathan Haidt, Jean Twenge, Lenore Skenazy, Richard Louv, David Brooks, Arthur Brooks. These folks were trying to figure out why there was this rise in mental health. And some of you know this book. Who's read this book, The Anxious Generation, or knows of it? I'm very proud that my English department has made it a book club book. I was following Jonathan Haidt even before this came out. He wrote stuff about the correlation. This book, supposedly, whether you agree with it or not, features causation. A lot of the stuff that you were Joel was talking about is captured in many wonderful graphs and charts and graphs in here about the correlation. And basically, he's saying that I suspect everybody in this room grew up like me, play-based. And he's saying our kids are growing up phone-based. And so I was also very interested in this because I have two kids in college now, but they were growing up right at that time when this 2010, 2011, when the smartphones were starting to go out and getting into teenagers' hands. This is written by Jonathan Haidt, works at NYU, and he said, I just want to get it right, he says, we grew up play-based, our kids are growing up phone-based, kids used to play with blocks and each other, and now they are on screens all of the time. And that we have overprotected children in the real world and underprotected them in screens. So we're helicopter-y outside the house and too permissive inside the house with screens. What's cool about this book is that he actually offers some solutions. And you may even have seen that in the news lately because a lot of school districts are trying this on. One of the solutions he comes up with is no smartphones before high school, okay? Just wrap your head around that. No smartphones before high school, no social media until 16. And we know that they're not supposed to be on there until 13, but the guardrails are pretty loose, and kids can get on there, and there's been studies on this where kids are like, I just changed the date, and I'm in, right? And then no phones in schools, ever. And then some of our school I have the information here. Some of our school districts are trying that on, like Marietta Public Schools, where students bring their phones in, they lock them up, and A lot of these studies are showing that it takes about 2 weeks to detox, and then kids are happier and they're connecting more and paying attention more. So I don't know how anecdotal that is, but I soon think it's going to be more quantitative. So, and then ultimately provide more opportunities for kids to do things independently outside of the home, like walk to the store and pay for groceries. You know, they show how adults got to do that between 6 and 8. And now when you ask those same adults, they're not letting their kids do it until double figures, if at all. So that, hopefully that just kind of frames the, you know, the research. And so then I picked up the play, and I kind of had a new focus on what it would be about. And I will quote my own summary. The student body is a darkly funny and poignant story where mental health is the umbrella over which to tackle prominent issues such as body image, aspects of social media, violence, disconnectedness, which is rampant in here in the researches I'm showing, and what might happen when adults mishandle young people in the name of protecting them. That's what I was very interested in. Because this is filled with wonderful, perhaps causation charts and graphs. It's been on the New York Times bestseller list since March 26 when it came out. I don't think our young adults are seeking this book out. Okay? I think our adults are, our parents are, but they're probably not going to do that. But they might go see a play. And, you know, the way we term the student body, which is funnier than what I just read, it's a funny play. It's not making fun of mental health, but it is using humor to set up some of the poignant moments in the play. That we say the student body is a story about teens and the adults in their lives. So what we were trying to do is get everybody, all the players, teens, their parents, school teachers, school officials, the community, all in the same audience, seeing the same story, which doesn't have answers, but generates discussion. And then we had discussions after each of the performances of the play, which was produced earlier this month. And what was great is that we reached out to a lot of mental health professional, like clinicians, including, I'm just going to list them, the Berman Center. They have a program called Ignite for Teens. Families First out of Palm Beach, Florida. They came down to see the play and be on the panel. Mental Health Treatment for Teens that brings families together. Eden, which is Eating Disorders Information Network with Calibri Education Group. Emory Ethics Center, Emory School of Public Health, JW Counseling, Kennesaw State, the Center for Young Adult Addiction Recovery, and everybody else that you mentioned. I tried to talk to everybody, and the psychology, yes. So we've been talking to a lot of these folks. We wanted to have the play, have a mental health panel after the play so that our actors weren't answering questions about mental health. They're good, but they're not that good, to be able to know that stuff. So folks saw the story, and then the mental health folks responded. Some of those mental health folks were seeing it for the first time, and they were like, I took notes, and then they said what they thought. And so we were able to do, I think we had all total about 500 folks come see the play. It's the first step, a sort of development step to get it on its feet. But I'll end with this. I mean, ultimately, we've got to get communities to get together and take action steps, and it's great that we're hoping that more folks that need therapy can get individual therapy. But if folks want to implement no social media to 16 or no smartphones, and then you're the only parent who's doing that because you read this great book, you're like, yes, that's the answer. And then you're creating more problems for your child. You're sending them outside, and now they feel even more disconnected. So I don't think any of the solutions are easy. It's complicated, but we need to bring all the players together, and sometimes, hopefully, story can help do that. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
My name is Nia Bullock, and I am the program manager for Silence the Shame. And I'll just tell you a little bit about it. Silence the Shame is a nonprofit organization that was started by a Atlanta native and music industry veteran named Shanti Das. And she started in 2017 because she had her own ideations of suicide and her own struggles with her mental health. So Silence the Shame focuses on eliminating the stigma around mental health and increasing and educating the marginalized communities facing barriers and discrimination. Our goal is to change perception and approaches to health within the communities, understanding challenges they encounter due to stigma, racial trauma, economic disparities, through partnerships with community leaders, behavior and physical health experts, and cultural influencers. We work to develop culturally sensitive mental wellness programs. And these programs prioritize the experiences of these individuals by providing them with support resources and safe spaces. Our goal is to build empowered communities and value conversations about mental health, promote understanding, and give importance to it. We want everyone to feel included, and we envision the world where everyone, no matter their background, can flourish mentally, socially, and emotionally. Silence the Shame has 4 different types of models, and we use these models to create our program. So I'll talk a little bit about our 4 models and then talk about one of our amazing programs that we have. So one of our models is conversations and dialogue. So what we do is address critical social issues such as trauma, suicide, mental health, health disparities, poverty, racism, and grief. These gatherings promote open conversations and collaborations among community members. And the goals of these are to educate, share resources, build community connections, and link participation to appropriate treatments. Our next one is our mental health seminars. We offer virtual and in-person seminars, and they're just different things that talk about resilience, life changes, expertise in different health fields. And these are led by our clinicians and our facilitators. They're all licensed, so we don't do them because I'm not a doctor. So we resource it out to our community. So we get our local clinicians, our local people who are licensed, and they lead these programs. Our next one is our self-care socials, and those are just events that we use to design to promote comprehensive self-care across our 8 pillars, which are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, environmental, social, and financial. So we try to cover all those bases because, like you guys said before, our wellness, our mental health is all about our whole self and not just, our minds. Our last one is our outreach and initiative programs. These are just outreach programs, awareness campaigns, and advocacy movements. So a lot of the things we do, we talk about, and especially like with our school shootings, with the deaths of our local influencers. So that we try to pinpoint and try to have conversations around them. But one of the things I want to talk about, or one of the cool things I want to talk about, is how our programs are designed and how that helps create our things that we do for Silence the Shame. So one of them is our Silence the Shame University. And what we do is we had a leadership program, and we kind of went out into the community. It's our first program, it's our first year doing the program. So at first we decided we were going to have behavioral health majors. That's it, nursing majors, psychology majors, social work majors, for them to come and have this leadership program that we designed to have all those different aspects that we have. But then we saw a need for program managers were coming in, people who wanted to work in IT tech, and we were like, okay, let's open it up to more people. So we decided to partner up with KSU, that was one, Morehouse, the AUC, so Spelman, Clark, we did Agnes Scott, we did Georgia Tech, and Georgia State. And so we got 25 students from all those 7 schools, and we did a leadership program. And it was our first cohort, and it was amazing. Dr. Allen, who's in this room right now, she helped us recruit some students. We actually had the most students from KSU, so we had to stop accepting you guys because it was too many of you guys. So we had to back it up and be like, all right, let some other students join. But we were very, very appreciative of the cohort. Yes, and we're gonna cut y'all off again. No. But we're opening another cohort that's starting in December. But again, this program again was designed for undergrads. We saw a lot of the focus on graduate students getting internships, and we said, what about the students who are trying to figure it out, and what about the students who don't really know about what, when you're in college, you pick a major and then you run with it. But we wanted to give them experience of their major. We wanted them to experience the behavioral health field. So we decided to put them through a leadership program that opened them up to different programs. We did different panels and different leadership trainings. They got to experience themselves. They got to experience other schools because KSU is not in Atlanta. So we brought them down and experienced other students. So I'm really cool. I'm really honored to announce this next speaker because he was actually in our cohort. So he gets to tell you firsthand on how it was and how it affected him and how he is going to be an ambassador for Silence the Shame. So thank you guys.
Hello, thank you for that, Nia. My name is Parker McCaig. I am currently in my second year at Kennesaw State University, majoring in psychology, and I also have I'm going to have a minor in child advocacy studies and data and analytical science. So I've been with Silence the Shame for not too long. I've been with them since February, but in that time I have learned so much. And also I've had the time of my life, really. So there was a social aspect to it, like she mentioned. Colleges all over Georgia, or mainly in the metro Atlanta area. But it was great to be able to talk to different colleges or people from different colleges about how they viewed stuff, especially because I was the minority in it. So it was great to hear other people's point of views about this. And we also got to, for my project that I'm going to talk about later, we got to go down to College Park, Georgia, and talk to middle schoolers and high schoolers about how they viewed mental health and how they could build positive coping strategies to deal with their mental health. And Silence the Shame University taught me a lot. It taught me not only about how to build my own positive coping strategies, but also that in order to be able to help other people in your community, you have to first take care of yourself first. And that's really something that I need to learn. I never think about myself, but through this program, I realized that I do have to take care of myself. I have to be well myself in order to ensure that my community is well too. I also got to do plenty of trainings with the program. I got to do mental health first aid, which was good. It helped me to see what are the warning signs in youth, like how do you see that and how do you manage that? Now, I can't give mental health advice, but I can tell them and I can refer them to the different places for psychological help, like what you're doing. And then, so to go deeper into what I got to do this summer was I got to go out to College Park and host an outreach event called Free Your Feels. I got to partner with Vox Atlanta and Georgia's Children's Future. Voices of Georgia's Children. Wow. Wow. Okay, I got it out. I got to partner with them to talk with middle school and high school age children about their mental health. Because if an adult comes up to you, well, y'all are all adults, oh wait. But if an adult goes up to a middle school or high school age children, they're not gonna wanna open up to them. So me, as a closer in age to them, I got to talk to them. I got to be on a panel and talk to them like, what are good positive coping strategies? How do you talk about mental health? Is mental health bad? The answer to that is no. Mental health is good. Everybody has mental health. And that was amazing to be able to go out and do that. Not only was it fun, but I learned so much from the people around me. So my future with Silence the Shame, I am currently here representing Silence the Shame, which is really cool. Thank you for having me, everybody. But also I'm gonna be a college ambassador, which means I'm gonna be talking to the clubs on campus, the people, the organizations, and I'm gonna represent Silence the Shame, which is amazing. And I'm so proud of Silence the Shame and everything that we've gone through, and I cannot wait to continue working with Silence the Shame. Thank you.
thank you for calling all of us old, Parker. We appreciate that. I'm just teasing. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here this afternoon. My name is Chelsea Pyatt. I'm the Associate Area Director for the Georgia chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Everyone say that 5 times fast. It's quite a title. So I serve the Georgia chapter. We have one chapter that serves the state of Georgia, and you have one staff person that serves the state of Georgia. So we are always looking for volunteers. So I'll put that plug in again after my speech. So if anyone's interested in volunteering. So the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, we have chapters in all 50 states as well as Puerto Rico. Our mission is to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. And we really support that mission in 4 different ways. So we support that mission through the funding of scientific research. So AFSP is the largest private funder into suicide prevention research, and a lot of what our funds go back into. So we have research, and then we do a lot of advocacy work. So each chapter itself hosts its own state capital day in every state, where we gather a group of volunteers, meet with our legislators, and talk about different mental health reform that we can support that'll be supportive for our community. So research, advocacy, and then prevention education, which I'm going to focus a little bit more on. We create and implement prevention education programming for anybody and everybody. So we have programs specific for youth, specific for students, which I'm going to get into in a second. Programs for different community groups, like Latinx community, Black African American community, LGBTQ plus community, seniors, like you name it, and we have a program that supports that community. And then the last way we really support our mission is through support for survivors of suicide loss. So we have a lot of resources and information and support for those who have lost a loved one to suicide or who are attempt survivors. And then before I get into a little bit more about our programming, so I actually started out with AFSP in 2014 as a volunteer. I am a loss survivor. I lost my dad to suicide when I was 9, many, many years ago. Most of the time it's easy for me to talk about, but some days it still gets me emotional. So I am here with AFSP kind of in honor of my dad. I'm so fortunate to have become a staff member from being a volunteer. So again, happy to be here. So kind of moving back into some of our Prev Ed, prevention education programs, and I'll follow your note and give some statistics here too. So suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in the state of Georgia, but it is the 3rd leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 34. That's our youth, that's our young people, right? So a lot of the programs that we do have focus on that age group, so 10 to 34. We have a prevention education program called It's Real, and this program is for middle school students, high school students, and college students. So it is a program that teaches students and young adults about their mental health and how to be smart about their mental health. So it teaches them how to recognize risk factors, warning signs in themselves, in their friends. We don't really lead with suicide prevention for that program. It's more about mental health support and what to do if you're struggling, how to reach out to a trusted adult, and things like that. And then we also have a program called More Than Sad that is dedicated to parents and school staff about how to recognize if their student or if their child is struggling with their mental health. And so we come out and deliver these programs for free to schools, businesses, communities, churches. I'm going to a library later this week to deliver a program. And because of the fundraising that we do, it is free for us to bring those programs to the community. So I know that schools often deal with budget. So anytime you need us to come to you and talk to you about mental health, we will be there. Just call me. It may not be me. We do have, again, like I said, volunteers who are trained in our programs to come and present those, because it's hard for me to get everywhere in the state of Georgia as one staff person. So again, I'll put in my shameless volunteer plug. We're always looking for volunteers to help with our advocacy work, to help with prevention education, to help with our events. We do have our big Out of the Darkness walks coming up, and those are our main fundraisers, which allow us to bring these programs to you guys, to the community. And I'm hoping we do have campus walks in the spring. So we reach out to college and high school campuses to host a walk on campus. And I know you guys are doing an event later in October, but we're also hoping to bring an AFSP Out of the Darkness walk to KSU's campus next spring. So if anybody wants to help me, get an in here at KSU, we would love to come back. Because we've been here a couple of years, but COVID happened and our walks kind of went on a hiatus. But so again, just want to let you guys know that AFSP is here to provide resources. Addition to our community education programs, we have printed resources, lifesaver guides, information for someone who might be struggling, information for families who have lost a loved one to suicide, and just kind of any support surrounding mental health. So anything you guys need, I'll be around for some questions as well. And just want to thank you guys again for having me, and hope to hear from some of you. So thank you.
No, you're fine. I was just kidding.
Hey everyone, I'm Michael Chen. I'm the Associate Dean of Students here for the Norman J. Radau College of Humanities and Social Sciences. First of all, thank you so much to our speakers. It's wonderful to see so many great minds, right, helping us. We have practitioners, we have researchers, we have our student representative, and people on the front line helping us understand the importance of mental health. So thank you so much for your work and for sharing with us today. And thank you to the audience for attending today, those online as well, for caring so much about the issue of mental health, not just for faculty and staff, but for our students as well, and for our family members and friends in the community. So thank you for coming. I think an important thing that we want to do here is that we want to connect you with one another, right? Because you're like-minded people who are interested in mental health. So we want you to connect with each other, talk to our speakers, right? Our speakers are inviting us to volunteer, right? To partner, to send our best students to be part of their program, to be research collaborators, and to be an advocate for our campus resources, right? So, please stick around. We have a reception in the Dean's Conference Room, SL 5012. Immediately after this session, we have food and drinks prepared for you as well. Just really quick, I want to point out that October 10th is our next event for 365. That's our walk for mental health awareness. In case if you don't know this, we have a paved path about 1 mile all around the football stadium, the Fifth Third Stadium. It's very accessible, so we hope that the weather is going to be nice. If it rains, we are still going to walk. We have ponchos prepared. So KSU local ponchos. So yeah, please come out and join us and invite your students as well. I want to point out that also we have another series. It's called the Professionals with Purpose. The next one coming up is September 19th. Now that's a different series, but the speaker, Amy Odell, her focus is also mental health related. Amy is the founder of Jacob's Ladder. It's a special needs school here in the Metro Atlanta area. Incredible story, right? This person, mom, she started the school when her son was like 2 years old. Now she grew the operation from just in her home to 2 campuses, multiple buildings, like 25 acres. It's a massive operation. So please come out and listen to her story. That's on September 19th from 2 to 3:15 or so in the University Room C. Last but not least, I want to thank all the staff members and students who helped and made this event possible, for Dean Kalkinen's support in creating the idea of 365 Days of Learning and Service. Special shout out to Dr. Lara Smith-Sitton she's our coordinator for events. We could not have done it without your help, Lara. Thank you so much. So thank you for coming today. Please stick around and mingle and connect with each other. Thank you so much.